This is a First Alert 7 weather day. Now an update from the First Alert Weather Center.
Good evening, everybody. This is meteorologist Sawyer McElroy breaking into programming for a tornado warning that is in Hobbs at the present time. This is an observed tornado. That means a tornado is on the ground in this area. This is part of Lee County in southeast New Mexico. Hail size up to 1.25 inches or 1.5 inches in this. But like I mentioned, this is an observed tornado. So there is a tornado currently on the ground. So if you are in the Hobbs area, you want to get to your safe place, that interior room away from walls, away from windows, that furthermost interior room in your house. And if you do have a basement, I know they're not very common out here, that is the best place to be. Like I mentioned, get away from those walls, get away from those windows, because debris could go flying, because there is a tornado actively on the ground in this area. This lasts until about 3:45 p.m. Mountain Time, so only about a couple more minutes for that tornado warning. But like I mentioned, there is a tornado currently on the ground, kind of right over Monument Highway at the present time. This is between the Monument and the Nadine area. And like I mentioned, a tornado is on the ground at the present time. I'm going to step off camera and pull up that rotation to show you where that location of that rotation and the location of that tornado currently is. And I will bring that up in just a moment. Well, it's not great on here because this is kind of getting far away from the radar. But like I mentioned, there is a confirmed tornado on the ground in this area in Lee County at the present time. And there is also a severe thunderstorm warning for that area, but that is until 3:45 p.m. Mountain Time. That is also for that tornado warning with that observed tornado on the ground. This has been confirmed by spotters in that area. And that continues, like I mentioned, for just a couple more minutes, and it could be extended as well. Actually, a new tornado warning just was issued. Also observed tornado for that area. That continues until 4 p.m. Mountain Time, so about 15-20 minutes on that also observed. So let me go change the radar around and show you that as well, because that has been reissued and moved a little bit closer to the actual town of Hobbs. So if you are in Hobbs in Lee County in southeast New Mexico, you need to get in your safe place now. There is an observed tornado in that area, and you need to be in your safe place, away from those windows, in far interior room as you can be, because there is a confirmed tornado on the ground in that area. And here's a look at that rotation. Kind of broad rotation there, but like I mentioned, there is an observed tornado on the ground in that area, so something to keep an eye on there. Like I mentioned, get into that interior room, that room away from windows, furthermost room in your house, and shelter down. Get a mattress, blankets, something to put over your head, because there is a confirmed tornado on the ground. That tornado warning continues until okay, sounds good. That tornado warning continues until 4 p.m. Mountain Time, but if you want to keep following this, we will be live on our YouTube and Facebook page. Thank you for tuning in. All right, thank you everybody for sticking around. If you are continuing to stay with us, we do have a tornado warning, observed tornado for Lee County. This is for the Hobbs area in southeast New Mexico, and I'm showing the rotation right now. It is a little bit of broad rotation, but we are kind of getting far away from the radar, so we are still showing that rotation, even though we are kind of far away from that radar here in the Midland area. But like I mentioned, a observed tornado, a tornado is actively on the ground in the Hobbs area, so you want to be in your safe place. I will kind of finagle this a little bit. Apologies for this. There we go. That observed tornado is on the ground in the Hobbs area. You can kind of see that classic hook echo right here, and that is where that tornado and that rotation is. So kind of, let's see, Elm Boulevard is included in this in Hobbs, Lovington Highway. If you are on this road and in the area of Hobbs in southeast New Mexico, you want to be getting to your safe place. If you are on the road, get to a place that is safe. A gas station or something that has an interior building. You do not want to be on the road during a tornado warning. And like I mentioned, this is an observed tornado, so a tornado is actively on the ground, has been confirmed by people who are out in that area. And if you are in your house, like I mentioned, get it to your interior room, your safe place, away from windows, away from those exterior walls. Shelter with a blanket, a pillow, something over your head, just in case there is flying debris, because that tornado is actively on the ground. That warning once again continues until 4 p.m. Mountain Time, so that is about 15 minutes. And I'm going to check and see what our chat is saying currently and see if they have updated anything with that. Ping pong ball size hail as well with this. So we're seeing large hail, that tornado actively on the ground. And like I mentioned, there is an observed tornado on the ground with this tornado warning in Lee County in Hobbs for southeast New Mexico. So that continues for about 15 more minutes. If you are not in your safe room, you need to get to your safe room now. Like I mentioned, away from those windows, exterior walls. You want to get into a most interior room across the area, because there is currently a tornado on the ground. So let me pull up that rotation once again. Like I mentioned, it is getting a little bit farther away from the radar here at Midland International Air and Spaceport. So we have to there is broad rotation with this showing up on radar, but like I mentioned, there has been observed tornado in that area, so something to keep in mind there. So we do kind of have that inflow boundary with the classic hook echo, and that is the rotation right there. So Elm Boulevard, kind of right where that tornado would be at the present time. Also 180 right there, 62 as well. Lovington Highway just to the north of where that current tornado is. So if you are in this area, keep that in mind. I'm going to zoom in and see if we can get a little bit better tell on those roads there. All right, so Main Street, Grimes Street, Kane Street in Lee County for Hobbs, you are probably seeing that rotation. Good news is that just updated, and so the rotation has moved. However, that tornado warning still has been issued for that area, and I have multiple weather alerts coming in currently, so apologies for that. Okay, so that rotation has shifted. So that rotation now is up to the north a little bit compared to where it currently, or that previously was. The streets for that now are currently, I'm going to butcher this, I apologize, Sanger Street, Maryland Street, Jefferson Street. So if you are in these areas in Hobbs, you need to be in your safe room because there is an observed tornado on the ground. This tornado warning continues for about 12 more minutes for that area, and hail size up to 1.5 inches in diameter as well, and that has also been observed. So you want to be in your safe room, like I mentioned, a far most interior room, away from exterior walls, away from windows. Like I mentioned, grab a helmet, a blanket, a pillow to put over your head just in case there is flying debris, because this is a serious situation. There is a confirmed tornado on the ground right now at the present time. And like I mentioned, that continues for about 15 more minutes for Hobbs, the city of Hobbs in southeast New Mexico in Lee County. And like I mentioned, Sanger Street, Maryland Street, Jefferson Street, this is where we are seeing that current rotation here on radar. So if you are honestly anywhere in this pink polygon that I'm going to zoom out and show everybody in just a second, you need to be in your safe place. However, that rotation has kind of shifted to the northeast from where it was earlier a couple of minutes ago. Like I mentioned, Sanger Street, Jefferson Street, if you are in this area, you need to be in your safe room right now because there is an observed tornado on the ground. That tornado warning continues for about 10 more minutes, until 4 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. Hail size, ping pong ball size hail has been observed with this as well. So you're not just dealing with that tornado threat, and obviously tornadoes are very dangerous, but you are also dealing with a hail threat as well with this system. And you can still kind of see that cloud classic hook echo on this system, and I'll pop that up in just a second and head over to the wall and show you. And that is where we are still continuing to see some rotation with this system. So the hook echo is kind of in this location, and the rotation is a little bit to the south because those winds are fueling into the storm and going, they're kind of clashing, and that is where that rotation is, and therefore that tornado that has been observed by multiple people that are on the ground in that area. So, you know, it's November, but severe weather season is still not done across the area. You know, you never know what to expect out here, but we do also have a tornado watch that continues for southeast New Mexico, the Permian Basin, until 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 9 p.m. Central Time for a tornado or two possible. Large hail, strong winds up to 70 miles per hour are possible, and the large hail up to about 2.5 inches in diameter. So something to keep an eye on as we head through the next couple of hours, because, you know, the threat is still not there, even though, especially across the Permian Basin, we're not seeing a ton of rain at the present time. But like I mentioned, and want to just reiterate, tornado warning for Hobbs right now, the city of Hobbs in southeast New Mexico in Lee County until 4 p.m. Mountain Time. Observed tornado. A tornado is currently on the ground and has been observed by multiple chasers, people that are in that area. So you want to get to your safe place, because there is currently a tornado on the ground in that area. And this is where that rotation is. So kind of near Grimes Road, Lovington Highway, Navajo Drive. That's where we're currently seeing that rotation. And that is where that tornado would be located as it is on the ground. Like I mentioned, we're going to stay on here, I believe, until that warning expires at 4 p.m. And if it gets reissued, then we're going to continue to stay on here. And like I mentioned, that tornado is currently on the ground. I'm going to pop the rotation off once again, just kind of show you this broad area of where that tornado warning is. So if you are in Hobbs at all, you need to be in your safe place. This is to the east of the Lee County Regional Airport. There is also a severe thunderstorm warning issued for this storm as well. But Grimes Street, Highway 218, 180, Broadway Street, you are continuing to be under that tornado warning, and that has shifted once again to the north, and we are still seeing that classic hook echo. So I would not be surprised if that does get reissued once again, just a little bit further to the northeast of that current polygon, because here's that hook echo. That rotation would still be in that area, and not quite sure if that tornado is still on the ground because I'm running everywhere right now. But like I mentioned, there is currently a tornado warning until 4 p.m. So about 7 more minutes. This is Mountain Time for Hobbs in southeast New Mexico, and ping pong ball size hail has also been observed with this storm. So if you are in that area, you want to get to your safe place. Hopefully you are already in it, and hopefully you are listening to me tell you this, but hopefully you are in your safe place, away from windows, away from those exterior walls, and in a safe place. I'm going to check and see if they have said anything else about that tornado in my chat with the National Weather Service. They have not. That continues for about 7 more minutes, and I'm going to pop up that rotation one more time so we can take a look at that, see if it has evolved. I would not be surprised if it has and moved a little bit to the northeast. Okay, good news is the rotation looks to be on the lower end now, so hopefully that rotation is kind of coming down. That storm is weakening enough that the tornado threat is done. Like I mentioned, that tornado warning is still in effect though. However, the rotation, at least as far as I am seeing, has come down. So that is the good news there. But if you are still in the Hobbs area, you want to stay in your safe place until that tornado warning expires in about 6 more minutes at this point, because it is 4:54 p.m. Central Time, and this expires at Mountain Time. So time zones are always great. Yeah, that expires at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. So about 6 more minutes for that tornado warning, including Hobbs in southeast New Mexico. You want to stay in your safe place until that is expired or extended, potentially extended, but at the moment looking to expire at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. So like I mentioned, you want to be in that interior room, and it still says observed. I have not seen any other confirmation or anything saying that is still on the ground. However, still treated as if there is a tornado currently on the ground because it is still an observed tornado warning. That pink polygon shows the fact that at one point there was a tornado actively on the ground. And like I mentioned, even though there is a tornado threat, there is still also a hail threat with this. Hail up to ping pong ball size in diameter has been observed. So with those winds and the tornado threat, that also poses a threat as well, because you can get wind-driven hail and that can cause damage as well. So you also, even with that hail threat, want to be in your safe place. We are about 5 minutes from that, hopefully expiring soon, but we are still carrying that tornado warning, an observed tornado warning for Hobbs in southeast New Mexico until about 4 p.m. Mountain Time. Like I mentioned, that hail is still also a threat with that, with 1.5 inches in diameter, about ping pong ball size in diameter, and that has been observed by multiple people in that area. I'm going to step off the screen right now and kind of get a read on the current rotation in this system as the storm has shifted a little bit to the northeast. The good news, like I mentioned earlier, is that it looks like that rotation is coming down on that storm. However, we are far away from the radar, so it is a little hard to get a tell, especially once we get so far away from the radar. But that tornado warning still is active for an observed tornado in the Hobbs area in southeast New Mexico, and that continues for about 4 more minutes. So you still want to be in your safe place if you are in this area. And like I mentioned, that storm has kind of shifted off to the northeast. At the moment, they have not reissued a tornado warning for that. However, there is also a severe thunderstorm warning for that same cell in that area that I will zoom out and we can talk about those details as well. Because even though that tornado warning is kind of to the south of where that cell is at the present time, okay, also the cell looks like it has weakened slightly, so that is the good news there. But like I mentioned, there is still a severe thunderstorm warning for that area as well for those ping pong ball sized hail. This is radar indicated for the severe thunderstorm warning, but areas have seen that ping pong ball sized hail for that tornado warning from that same cell. This continues until 5:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time, as it is now crossing the into Gaines County, I believe. So that is something to keep an eye on as well as we head through the next about half hour or so. But like I mentioned, and I'll go pull it back up really quick, we do have that tornado warning that continues for Hobbs in southeast New Mexico and Lee County until 4 p.m. So about 3 more minutes on that. It's still saying it is an observed tornado. I have not seen any other correspondence otherwise that there is not currently an active tornado on the ground. I would expect there to not be, just because that cell has shifted off to the northeast. However, at the moment, because this is what we have, we are still going to believe that there is still a tornado on the ground, that you need to still be continuing to be in your safe place in the Hobbs area this evening for about 2 more minutes, because that expires at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. And like I mentioned, that severe thunderstorm warning for that cell is still in place until about 5:30 p.m. Central Time, because it is crossing the time zone border as it heads here into Texas. But that severe thunderstorm warning still looking at ping pong ball sized hail for that, and strong winds with that as well. So like I mentioned, we do have about 2 more minutes continuing for that tornado warning in Hobbs in southeast New Mexico. And thank you for everybody who has been continuing to follow this here on Facebook and on YouTube. Hopefully this provided you with some relief or some useful information. About 1 more minute on that, and hopefully that will expire. Like I mentioned, that cell has kind of moved off to the northeast, as you can see on here. Kind of not really much of anything here in the Hobbs area currently, because that cell has moved off to the northeast, but that cell is still carrying a severe thunderstorm warning, and I'll pop those details up really quick, and hopefully we will see that warning expiring here at 4 p.m. in just about 30 seconds or so. There we go. Here's the information for that severe thunderstorm warning in Hobbs Gaines and Lee counties as it is crossing the border here into Texas. Hail size up to ping pong ball size. This is radar indicated for this severe thunderstorm warning, and wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. This continues until about 5:30 p.m. And I'm going to check and make sure and see if that severe or that tornado warning has been allowed to expire. Yes, it has. So thank you everybody for joining us. Of course, if there is another tornado warning, we will come back on air on Facebook and on YouTube. Thank you for joining in, and stay safe, everybody.